Welcome, Kriegsman. Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard the phrase in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and wondered what it meant? Or maybe you've seen massive armored warriors and terrifying aliens plastered across Warhammer 40K art and felt a bit intimidated? Well, you're not alone. Warhammer 40K is massive. A universe so deep and complex it can overwhelm even the most curious newcomers. But fear not. Today, I'm here to guide you through the galaxy-spanning chaos and madness that makes this franchise so iconic. Let's take a moment to understand what makes Warhammer 40K such a cultural phenomenon. Originally created by Games Workshop in 1987, Warhammer 40K started as a tabletop wargame. Over the decades, it has expanded into a multimedia empire. Novels, video games, comics, animations, and more. From small hobby beginnings, it's grown into one of the most beloved and immersive science fiction universes in history. But what truly sets Warhammer 40K apart? It's more than just its stunning models or gripping lore. It's the tone. This isn't your typical sci-fi galaxy filled with hope and heroes. No. Warhammer 40K is unapologetically grimdark. Imagine a future where humanity teeters on the brink of annihilation, consumed by endless war, political corruption, and dark gods that prey on their very souls. Add in a blend of high fantasy elements, like space knights, magic, and ancient evils, and you have a setting that feels unlike anything else. And here's my promise to you. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of the Warhammer 40K universe. Whether you're curious about the lore, the factions, or even how to dive into the tabletop game, I'll help you navigate this intimidating world step by step. So grab your bolter, say a quick prayer to the God Emperor, and let's begin our journey into the grim darkness of the far future. The setting: the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. Welcome to the 41st Millennium, a time so far into the future, it feels like the past and the end of days combined. But what is the 41st Millennium, and why is it called that? Well, Warhammer 40K takes place in the year 40,000, or rather, the final years of that millennium. Humanity has spread across the galaxy, creating vast empires. But instead of a golden age of progress, this future is a dystopian nightmare where hope is almost extinct. The galaxy itself is a brutal, war-torn expanse. Imagine endless battlefields across planets, space stations, and even the cold void of space. Every star system is a battleground, with factions fighting for territory, resources, and survival. From crumbling hive cities to alien wastelands, this universe is as unforgiving as it gets. At the heart of the 41st Millennium are three major themes. First, unending war. In this universe, war never stops. Every faction, race, and empire is locked in constant conflict. Battles rage across countless worlds for countless reasons. There is no peace. Second, religious zeal. Humanity's empire, known as the Imperium of Man, is a theocracy. They worship the God Emperor, a figure so revered that he is the center of faith, law, and warfare. This devotion isn't unique to humanity. Many factions in the galaxy are driven by their own extreme beliefs. And third, humanity's struggle against extinction. Humanity teeters on the edge of annihilation. The Imperium faces threats from alien empires, traitors, and even gods. Corruption from within only makes things worse. It's a fight for survival, at any cost. But the 41st Millennium isn't just about the physical battles. There's a far stranger and deadlier force at play. The Imperium, or as it's better known, the Warp. The Warp is a parallel dimension of raw, psychic energy. Think of it as a stormy ocean that ships use to travel faster than light. Sounds useful, right? Well, here's the catch. The Warp is alive. It's a chaotic, nightmarish realm filled with malevolent beings called Chaos Gods and their demonic followers. These gods are born from the emotions and thoughts of living creatures. That makes the Warp a reflection of the galaxy's darkness. Every time a psyker, a person with psychic abilities, uses the warp, they risk their life and their soul. And every time a ship enters the warp for travel, it gambles with the lives of its entire crew. Many ships are lost, never to return. In the 41st millennium, the warp isn't just a tool, it's a constant threat. It's both essential for survival and a source of endless terror. This is the reality of the 41st millennium. It's a universe where survival is a victory, and even hope comes at a price. That's why they say, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. The Imperium of Man, humanity's empire. The Imperium of Man is humanity's vast, galaxy-spanning empire. It's powerful, but it's also brutal and oppressive. Life in the Imperium is full of fear, suffering, and unending war. Let's break it down. First, at the heart of the Imperium is the Emperor of Mankind. He's not just a leader. He's seen as a god. Over 10,000 years ago, the Emperor united humanity during a golden age. But now, he's trapped on the golden throne, a massive life support system. His body is almost lifeless, yet his mind keeps the Imperium alive. He guides humanity and protects them from the horrors of the warp, but at a great cost. Millions are sacrificed daily just to keep him alive. Next, we have the Adeptus Astartes, or Space Marines. They are humanity's superhuman warriors, created by the Emperor himself. These genetically enhanced soldiers are the best of the best. Clad in power armor, Space Marines are organized into chapters, each with its own traditions and unique fighting styles. They are humanity's most loyal defenders, but their numbers are limited. There are only about 1,000 chapters, each with roughly 1,000 warriors. Now let's look at the Adeptus Mechanicus, the tech priests of Mars. These are the people who maintain and build the Imperium's technology. But there's a catch. Technology in the Imperium isn't fully understood. The Mechanicus treats it like a religion, worshipping machine spirits and following sacred rituals to keep technology working. Then, there's the Astra Militarum, also known as the Imperial Guard. They're the regular human soldiers of the Imperium. Unlike the Space Marines, they aren't superhuman. They're ordinary people thrown into extraordinary battles. The Guard fights on every front, using sheer numbers, tanks, and artillery to overwhelm enemies. They are the backbone of the Imperium's armies, but their lives are often seen as expendable. The Inquisition is another vital faction. They are secretive and ruthless, tasked with rooting out heresy, alien threats, and demonic corruption. They answer to no one and will do whatever it takes to protect humanity, even if it means wiping out entire planets. Alongside them are the Adeptus Sororitas, or Sisters of Battle. These are highly trained warrior nuns who fight with faith and firepower. They are fiercely loyal to the Emperor and are known for their zealous devotion to humanity's survival. But here's the thing, the Imperium isn't thriving. It's stagnating. Innovation is forbidden, progress is slow, and corruption runs deep. Humanity clings to ancient technologies and dogmatic beliefs, barely holding off extinction. The Imperium is an empire in decline, held together by fear, faith, and war. This theme of stagnation is central to Warhammer 40K. The Imperium is massive and powerful, but it's also its own worst enemy. It survives, but just barely, and only at an unimaginable cost to its people. That's the Imperium of Man, a beacon of hope for humanity, but also a reminder of its darkest potential. The Xenos factions. Let's dive into the alien factions, also known as Xenos, that populate the galaxy of Warhammer 40K. Each brings its own unique flavor to the universe, from tragic histories to comedic chaos. First, the Eldar or Eldari. They're an ancient race that once ruled the galaxy. The Eldar were incredibly advanced, but their pride led to their downfall. Thousands of years ago, their civilization collapsed due to their own decadence. The birth of the Chaos god Slaanesh wiped out most of their race, leaving only a few scattered survivors. Today, the Eldar fight to preserve what remains of their people. They're fast, psychic, and fight with elegant weapons. Despite their power, The Eldar are a dying race, constantly battling extinction. Next, the Orcs. If there's one faction that combines chaos and comedy, it's the Orcs. They're big, green, and love nothing more than a good fight. Orcs are biologically programmed for war. The more they fight, the stronger they get, and they're always looking for a scrap. They don't care about winning or losing. They just enjoy the destruction. They even have a hilarious belief system. For example, they think red vehicles go faster, and somehow they do. The Orcs' crazy energy and destructive nature make them a force of pure chaos in the galaxy. Now, the Tyranids. Imagine a swarm of endless, bioengineered monsters that devour entire planets. That's the Tyranids. They're controlled by a single, galaxy-spanning hive mind, which directs their every move. The Tyranids send hive fleets into the galaxy, consuming everything in their path. What makes them terrifying is their adaptability. They evolve to counter any threat. They don't negotiate, they don't stop, and they won't stop until there's nothing left to consume. They're the ultimate predator. Then we have the Necrons. The Necrons were once a living race with short, painful lives, desperate for immortality. They made a terrible deal with godlike beings called the Tan. The Tan gave them eternal life, but at the cost of their souls. Now, the Necrons are an army of undying, robotic warriors. They're ancient, cold, and calculating. Recently, the Necrons have started waking up from their long slumber, reclaiming their ancient dynasties, and bringing their advanced technology back to the galaxy. Let's talk about the Tau Empire. The Tau are one of the youngest factions in the galaxy. They're an expansionist race that believes in the concept of the greater good, where all species work together for a better future. But here's the catch. They expect everyone to follow their way. While they seem idealistic, their methods can be harsh. The Tau rely on advanced technology, long-range firepower, and teamwork in battle. They're often seen as a contrast to the darker, grimmer factions in 40K. Finally, some minor Xenos factions. While not as prominent, they still add to the galaxy's diversity. The Cruid are mercenaries who fight for other factions and adapt by consuming their enemies. The Vespid are insect-like warriors who often fight alongside the Tau. The Hrud are shadowy, time-warping creatures rarely seen. These factions, while smaller, add more layers to the already complex world of Warhammer 40K. Each Xenos faction is unique, offering its own stories, strengths, and weaknesses. From the tragedy of the Eldar to the wild chaos of the Orcs, these aliens show us that the galaxy isn't just about humanity. It's a brutal, diverse, and chaotic place filled with endless possibilities. The forces of chaos. Chaos is one of the most terrifying and complex forces in the Warhammer 40K universe. It represents corruption, madness, and the eternal struggle between order and destruction. To understand chaos, we first need to talk about the warp. What is the warp? The warp, also known as the Imperium, is a parallel dimension made of pure psychic energy. It's like a stormy ocean of emotions, thoughts, and raw power. The warp allows faster-than-light travel and psychic abilities, but it's also incredibly dangerous. Within the warp, you'll find the Chaos Gods, ancient, malevolent beings who thrive on the emotions of living creatures. The Chaos Gods. There are 4 main Chaos Gods, each representing a specific aspect of corruption. Khorne, the Blood God, thrives on war, violence, and anger. His followers are bloodthirsty warriors who care only about killing and destruction. His mantra is simple: blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne. Tsench, the Changer of Ways, represents ambition, manipulation, and constant change. He's a master of schemes and sorcery, and his followers are often wizards or manipulators. Tsench embodies the hunger for knowledge and power, but his plans are always unpredictable. Nurgle, the Plague Lord, embodies disease, decay, and despair, but also resilience and acceptance. His followers embrace sickness as a form of strength, spreading his pestilence wherever they go. Strangely, Nurgle is also seen as a comforting god by some, offering peace in the face of inevitable suffering. Slaanesh, the Prince of Excess, represents indulgence, pleasure, and obsession. Slaanesh thrives on extremes, whether it's the pursuit of beauty, sensation, or hedonism. But these desires always spiral into madness and ruin. These gods constantly fight each other, but they also unite to spread chaos across the galaxy. Chaos Space Marines. The Chaos Space Marines were once loyal defenders of humanity, but during the Horus Heresy, many legions turned against the Emperor and pledged themselves to the Chaos Gods. These traitor legions became the ultimate enemies of the Imperium. Now, they exist as twisted, corrupted versions of their former selves. Their armor is warped, their minds are broken, and they are driven by hatred, vengeance, and the power of chaos. Each Chaos Space Marine Legion has its own identity. For example, the World Eaters are berserk warriors dedicated to Khorne. The Thousand Suns are powerful sorcerers in service to Tsench. The Death Guard spread Nurgle's plagues across the galaxy. The Emperor's children seek perfection and excess in the name of Slaanesh. Demons and corruption. Chaos also manifests through demons, creatures born from the warp itself. These demons are servants of the Chaos Gods and embody their master's essence. They can take on many forms, from horrifying monsters to alluring figures, but their purpose is always the same: to spread chaos and destroy the material world. The power of chaos is deeply corruptive. It tempts individuals with promises of power, immortality, or salvation, but the price is always their soul. Entire planets and civilizations have been consumed by chaos, falling into madness and destruction, themes of temptation and eternal struggle. At its core, chaos represents humanity's darkest impulses: violence, ambition, fear, and excess. It's not just an external threat, but also an internal one. Even the most noble individuals can fall to chaos if they're not careful. This eternal struggle between resisting chaos and succumbing to it is a central theme in Warhammer 40K. Chaos is both fascinating and horrifying. It's the ultimate enemy, not just because of its raw power, but because it preys on the flaws and weaknesses of every living being. Whether through the Chaos Gods, traitor space marines, or demonic forces, chaos is a constant reminder that even in the grim darkness of the far future, the greatest battles are fought within. Major events in Warhammer history. The Warhammer 40K universe is shaped by a series of galaxy-spanning events that define its grim, dystopian setting. These key moments in history explain how humanity went from a golden age of progress to an age of unending war and darkness. The Age of Strife. The story begins with the Age of Strife, a period of chaos and isolation for humanity. Thousands of years before the 41st millennium, humanity reached incredible heights during a time called the Dark Age of Technology. Advanced AI, interstellar travel, and prosperous colonies made humanity a dominant force in the galaxy. But it didn't last. Several disasters struck simultaneously. Rogue AIs called Men of Iron rebelled against their creators. Warp storms made interstellar travel impossible, cutting off human colonies from one another. Emerging psychers, humans with psychic powers, caused havoc as they had no control over their abilities and attracted the horrors of the warp. Humanity descended into chaos, with planets falling into barbarism and starvation. It was an age of isolation, fear, and collapse. The Great Crusade. The Great Crusade marked humanity's attempt to rise from the ashes. At its center was the Emperor of Mankind, a mysterious, godlike figure who had guided humanity from the shadows for millennia. The Emperor revealed himself, uniting Terra Earth, and setting out to rebuild humanity's empire. He created the Space Marines, genetically modified super soldiers, to lead his armies. He also engineered the Primarchs, his 20 superhuman sons, to command the legions of Space Marines. Each Primarch was a living weapon, designed to be the perfect leader and warrior. The Great Crusade saw humanity reclaim thousands of lost worlds, bringing order to the galaxy. But even during this time of triumph, cracks were forming in the Emperor's vision. The Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy is the most pivotal event in Warhammer 40K history, a catastrophic civil war that shattered the Emperor's dream of unity. Horus, the Emperor's favored Primarch, was corrupted by the Chaos Gods. He turned against his father and convinced half of the Space Marine legions to join him. What followed was a brutal war that saw brother fighting brother. Key events during the heresy include the Siege of Terra, the climactic battle at the Imperial Palace, where Horus confronted the Emperor's final act. He defeated Horus but was mortally wounded. His broken body was placed on the Golden Throne, a life support device that keeps him alive in a state of eternal agony. The heresy tore the Imperium apart, leaving humanity weaker and more vulnerable than ever before. The post-heresy era. After the heresy, the Imperium entered a long, slow decline. Without the Emperor to guide them, humanity's leaders became rigid and dogmatic, turning his vision into a religion. This era is marked by stagnation, bureaucracy, and fear of innovation. The Imperium's struggles continued for thousands of years. But in recent times, a major event shook the galaxy: the Indomitus Crusade. The Indomitus Crusade began after the Great Rift. A massive warp storm split the galaxy in half. This event, known as the Cicatrix Maledictum, unleashed horrors across the galaxy. In response, Robot Guilliman, one of the surviving Primarchs, returned to lead humanity's defense. He launched the Indomitus Crusade to reclaim lost worlds and stabilize the Imperium. Themes of Warhammer history. These major events show how humanity is locked in a cycle of triumph and tragedy. Each era brings hope, only for it to be consumed by darkness. The Age of Strife, the Great Crusade, the Horus Heresy, and the Indomitus Crusade all reflect the central theme of Warhammer 40K: survival in the face of overwhelming odds. Warhammer's history is vast and complex, but understanding these key events gives us a clearer picture of why the galaxy is the way it is, a brutal, unending struggle for survival. Getting started with Warhammer 40K. Best entry points for the lore. The Warhammer 40K universe has an incredible depth of storytelling, and there are some great places to dive in. Black Library novels. These are official books that bring the Warhammer universe to life. A classic starting point is Horus Rising by Dan Abnett. It kicks off the Horus Heresy series and explores the origins of the galaxy's greatest civil war. Another great choice is Eisenhorn, also by Dan Abnett. It's a more focused story about an Imperial Inquisitor and his fight against chaos. YouTube creators. If reading isn't your thing, there are plenty of creators who bring the lore to life through videos. Be sure to check out my channel, where I break down the lore in a way that's fun and easy to understand. Codexes and official lore books. If you want detailed information about a specific faction, Codex books are your go-to. They include lore artwork and rules for tabletop gameplay. Starting with the tabletop game. If the gameplay side interests you, Warhammer 40K offers a creative and strategic experience like no other. Here's what you need to know to get started. How the game works. At its core, the tabletop game involves 2 or more players commanding armies of miniatures on a battlefield. The goal is to complete objectives and outmaneuver your opponent, using tactics and dice rolls to determine the outcome of battles. Choosing a faction. The first big decision is picking a faction that resonates with you. Do you like the noble defenders of humanity? Check out the Space Marines. Prefer something darker? Chaos Space Marines might be your thing. Or maybe you're drawn to aliens like the Eldar or Tyranids. Each faction has a unique playstyle and aesthetic. Starter sets and kill team. If you're new to the game, consider starting with a beginner-friendly box set, like Warhammer 40K starter set. These include miniatures, dice, and rules to help you learn. If you're looking for something smaller and faster, Kill Team is a great option. It's a skirmish-scale version of Warhammer 40K, perfect for learning the basics without committing to a full army. Your journey starts here. Whether you're diving into the lore, building your first army, or just exploring the hobby, Warhammer 40K has something for everyone. Take your time. Find what you enjoy, and remember, it's all about having fun in this massive, chaotic universe. Why Warhammer 40K matters. Warhammer 40K isn't just a game or a collection of stories. It's a phenomenon that has captured the imagination of fans for over 3 decades. But why does it matter so much? Let's explore what makes this universe so special and why it continues to resonate with millions around the world. The enduring appeal of Warhammer 40K. At its core, Warhammer 40K offers a universe unlike any other. It's grim, dark, and often hopeless, but it's also full of epic battles, unforgettable characters, and a sense of scale that's hard to match. The franchise blends elements of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror into something truly unique. Whether it's the massive space battles, the ancient prophecies, or the personal struggles of its characters, there's always a story that draws you in, themes that resonate. One reason Warhammer 40K stands out is its themes. They're not just entertaining, they're thought-provoking. First, humanity's resilience. The Imperium of Man is a brutal, dystopian society, but it endures. Despite facing extinction from every corner of the galaxy, humanity refuses to give up. That resilience is inspiring, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Second, moral complexity. In Warhammer 40K, there are no clear heroes or villains. The Imperium is oppressive, the Xenos factions are dangerous, and chaos is, well, chaos. This moral ambiguity makes the stories feel real and relatable. It's not about good versus evil. It's about survival, loyalty, and sacrifice. Finally, epic storytelling. The galaxy-spanning conflicts, the rise and fall of empires, and the deeply personal tales of individual characters combine to create some of the most engaging storytelling you'll find anywhere. The heart of Warhammer, its community. One of the most important aspects of Warhammer 40K is the people who love it. Hobbyists. Whether it's painting miniatures, building terrain, or customizing armies, the creative side of Warhammer 40K is unmatched. Gamers. The tabletop battles bring people together, creating shared memories and rivalries. Lore enthusiasts. There are countless fans who dive deep into the stories, debating theories, and sharing their favorite moments. This community is what keeps the franchise alive and growing. Whether you're here for the game, the lore, or the hobby, you're part of something bigger. Why it matters. Warhammer 40K isn't just about the stories or the miniatures. It's about the ideas it explores, the creativity it inspires, and the connections it fosters among fans. So whether you're a beginner just stepping into the 41st millennium or a veteran who's been around since the early days, Warhammer 40K has something meaningful to offer. Conclusion. We've covered a lot in this video, haven't we? The Warhammer 40K universe is vast, complex, and yes, it can be a bit overwhelming at first. But trust me, it's a journey worth taking. From the dystopian Imperium of Man to the mysterious Xenos factions and the corrupting forces of chaos, every corner of this galaxy is packed with incredible stories, characters, and themes that will stick with you long after you dive in. A quick recap. Warhammer 40K is more than just a game. It's a world of epic storytelling, moral complexity, and endless creativity. Whether you're here for the lore, the miniatures, or the tabletop battles, there's something for everyone in the 41st millennium. And the best part, you don't have to explore it alone. Now, it's your turn. I'd love to hear from you. What's your favorite faction, story, or moment from Warhammer 40K? Or, if you're new to the universe, which part of it intrigues you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more beginner-friendly guides, in-depth lore explorations, or just more Warhammer content in general, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. Join the journey. This is just the beginning. Warhammer 40K is a universe where there's always more to learn, more to discover, and more to share. And I'm here to help guide you through it. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, may the Emperor protect.